welcome back to Tailor Tales, Chapter 14 with Greg. Are we gonna be honest with him this route, please? Chapter, you weren't kidding when you said these costumes were heavy, Greg groans as he slips another garment over his shoulder. Can I close? Okay. There's a linen ruff around his neck and a Renaissance-style hat on his head, giving him the look of a kid who just rummaged through someone's costume box and gotten lost in it. What will you make them out of, lead? He asked. It's not the material that's heavy. I stifle a giggle and push him towards the door. Those dresses have about 4 different layers. I had to make them true to the time period the place is set in. Did you know that fabric choices in the Renaissance era were a huge part of showing off someone's status? I continues, getting swept up in my passion for the subject. And of course, back then they didn't even have zippers, so people were literally sewn into their outfits. Imagine always needing someone else to help you get in and out of clothes. I giggle at the thought of Greg. I'm saying everything but his. Gray gives me an impressed look as he comes up beside me. Well, you certainly know your stuff, he says with a grin. And if you ever need it, I'm always ready to help you undress. He wiggles his eyebrows suggestively and I scoff at the remark, doing my best to smother my laughter. I adjust the bags that slung over my arm and as I pull up the front door, shut behind me, ensure it's locked. Gray holds the door waiting the taxi open for me, and we bundle into the back seat. Costumes much too heavy to carry all the way to the Tailor Academy. We sort ourselves out between the garments, bags, hats, and shoes, and when the car takes off down the road, I look over at him and say thoughtfully, "You may not care about fashion, but these kind of details are important, especially when it comes to an Academy production." Gray raises an eyebrow at me, and I'm well aware that I'm strung tighter than usual. I just really want everyone to like these outfits. First of all, who says I don't care about fashion? You've seen the way I dress. He gives me a crooked grin. I know he's teasing me, and I find it difficult to stop the smile that spreads across my face. It's true though, his style does suit him. Second, who cares what a bunch of Academy snobs thinks about a couple of dresses and tunics? With a sigh, I look out the window, watching the familiar buildings pass us by wistfully. I'm just nervous, that's all. Wringing my hands together in my lap, I do a last-minute count of all the pieces in my head, and I pray I haven't forgotten anything. If people like these costumes, then they'll come to me for other events, I explained. There's the Academy Ball, the graduation dinner, and future theater productions, name a few. Something settles on my chest like a paperweight, images of the worst-case scenario washing over me. And if they don't like them, Gray surprises me by reaching over and taking my trembling hand in his, holding it tight. They're going to love them. How could they not, after all the effort you've put into them? I let out a slow exhale, smiling at him in return. Thanks, I hope you're right. The taxi turns a corner and rumbles along down the road, getting closer and closer to our destination. Of course, I understand what reputation can do for a business, Grace says absentmindedly, looking out the window ahead of us. Speaking of business, I say as I adjust my grip, but don't let go of his hand. I've noticed more people around the basement than usual lately. He gives me a look from the corner of his eye, one that I can't quite decipher. Who would have thought so many people were into board games, I add with a shrug. His lips curve into a way that means nothing but trouble, his eyes gleam with mischief. Oh, you'd be surprised, he says. I thought that after a little game of Jumble, you might be interested in other games. I squeeze his hand in surprise, not missing the insinuation. Having spent so much time around him lately, I've learned to expect that some kind of flirtatious remark will always follow that smile of his. Only if you're the one teaching me the rules. The driver might hear you. The drivers... I forgot we were in like a taxi, first of all. I thought one of us was driving. I flirt right back, my mouth hooking up at the side. Gray leans closer, the subtle scent of his cologne drifting over me when he brushes a few strands of hair back from my face. Trust me, I wouldn't let anyone else tell you what to do, he says softly, though his eyes burn with intent. My breath sticks in my throat as I meet him head on. I worry for a moment that the driver might overhear us, but then decide just as quickly that I don't care. I'm sure the drivers heard worse. Neither would I say, keeping my eyes locked on his. The air between us is charged with electricity, bringing goosebumps to the surface of my skin. Surprisingly, Gray pulls back first and huffs a laugh, leaning back against the leather seat. Glad to hear it. When I feel the car slowing down, I peek out the window and find we're just arriving at the academy. Finally, I let out a breath. Alright, time for showtime. Wouldn't Nikki realize, Gray though? After gathering everything up from the back of the taxi, we head towards the gate of the school. Classes are finished for the day, though Nikki had messaged me to say the drama club would be rehearsing in the auditorium until dark. Gray stuffs his hands into his pockets, casually looking around. It was a lot less intense since the last time we were here. I stifle a chuckle. Well, last time we jumped out a window to get away from one of the teachers. He grins at me, his eyes lifting up at the corners. I'd do it again. How about we enter the school like normal people this time around, I offer. He politely bows and gestures towards the entrance. After you, milady. I roll my eyes at him with a smile. We enter the auditorium and instantly spot Nikki in front of the stage, watching over a group of kids as they rehearse a scene. I recognize it at once, the infamous death scene. I watch transfixed as Juliet picks up the fake dagger and stabs it into her stomach. A ripple of red ribbon stream from her abdomen, a theatrical portrayal of blood. And I'm glad to know that the costumes won't be ruined by any fake blood on the night. Can we put these down somewhere? Gray mumbles from beside me. My arms are about to break off. With an amused shake of my head, I lead the way down to the steps in the middle of the building, past rows and rows of seats and a few spectators that have come to watch the rehearsal. I watch Nikki's form grow closer as we approach, and a thought suddenly trickles into my mind. How am I supposed to explain to him that the Phantom, of all people, is here to help me deliver the costumes? And even worse than that, we're friends. I spent so much time worrying about the costumes that I hadn't even come up with a way to avoid the topic. Upon hearing her footsteps, Nikki turns and smiles wide, his eyes going straight to the bags in her hands. They're here, he exclaims, loud enough for the actors to pause their scene. Thank you so much for bringing them down here, Michiko. Oh, no problem, I say with a forced smile, stepping in front of Gray to block him from view. This fails miserably since he stands over half a foot taller than me, and I don't know what else to do. At least I can be sure that Nikki won't recognize him from appearance alone. Gray shouldn't be able to recognize him either. Nikki was much shorter in his teenage years and definitely has less facial hair. You can put them down in the first row. I'll have the actors try them on while you're here, to make sure they're all okay, Nikki says as he takes one of the bags from me and leads the way. After placing the costumes over the seats and directing them to the right people, Nikki lets out a satisfied sigh and turns to Gray. I don't believe we've met. I'm Nikki, he says with a smile, shaking Gray's hands firmly. He's just a new friend of mine. Oh, that's so sus. I reply, stepping in between them. So how are rehearsals going? I ask with a forced smile. Nikki frowns a little, giving Gray a second look before shaking his head and grinning. Excellent. I'd say we're almost ready for the performance next week, after a couple of dress rehearsals, of course. That's great, I say, and I'm truly glad to hear it. Oh, so it's not ready? It's not tonight? We walk with Nikki over to the front of the stage, glancing over the props and set pieces. The Academy really hasn't held back for this production. Everything looks so professional and well made. You'll stop by opening night, won't you? I promise I'd save you a seat. I'm sure you'd enjoy your work in action. I'll be there, I bob on the spot, smiling broadly. At the glimpse I got earlier is anything to go by, the play is going to be amazing. Great, I'm looking forward to it. You can sit with me, he says with a smile. Oh shit. Beside me, I catch a hint of something in Gray's demeanor as he shifts around. The actors begin to emerge in their costumes, and I take out my portable sewing kit, making some small adjustments here and there. Gray takes a seat in the audience a few rows back, pulling out his phone while he waits. I felt bad for interrupting him before. It was rude of me, but I just couldn't risk Nikki finding out who he is, spilling everything. Overall, the costumes fit great, and they look amazing. I get a glimpse of the actors on stage in them, under the different lights, and a bubble of pride swells within me. I did a really good job. Michiko, I've been meaning to ask you something, Nikki asks after a while, as coming to stand beside me. From the corner of my eye, I see Gray look up, and I know he's watching the two of us. What is it? I ask, ignoring the weight of Gray's gaze. Gray's gaze? I wonder if you'd come and meet me for a drink sometime this week. It's been so long since we spent any time together, and it might be nice to catch up. Oh, sure, that would be really nice, I say, a little caught on the spot. Fantastic, I look forward to hearing all about this boutique of yours. I hope you'll tell me everything. I'll tell you anything you want to know, I say with a smile, sparing a glance at Gray, who has returned to his phone. We should head off, I say to Nikki, noticing him follow my gaze. We'll leave you to your rehearsals. Nikki nods, and I don't miss the final look he throws at Gray before he smiles at me. Of course, thanks again for the costumes. They really are perfect. Girl, I think you need to just cough it up, bro. This is too dodgy, too scary. After saying our goodbyes, Gray and I head out of the auditorium, neither of us speaking as we reach the street. There's a tension between us that wasn't there before, and I hate the way it feels. You did it! The sky overhead is quickly darkening, a chill lingering in the air. I've already called a taxi, though it should take a bit before it arrives. Old boyfriend, he asks. No, not really. Just my best friend that we lost contact for 10 years. I can tell by his tone that he's less than impressed by what happened back there, but to ask if Nikki is my boyfriend, that's really odd. No, just an old classmate. I look him in the eye and smile, trying to sound casual. Is that so? He raises an eyebrow, and I know he doesn't believe me. I don't reply, and I'm thankful that he seems to take the hint and say no more about it. As I walk down the road, he shoves his hand in his pocket, suddenly letting out a soft laugh. I remember this place, he says as he slows, looking around. You know, back in the day I had a crush on an academy girl. Oh? I turn and look at him, surprise written all over my face. This is news to me. Yeah, you kind of remind me of her. He says with a dip of his head. He toes the ground in front of him, giving me a sly smile. I rack my brain, trying to remember if I ever saw one of the Academy girls with him. I'm sure I never did. What was she like? I ask. Oh, my girl's dumb as fuck. I ask, hoping he'll give me a clue. She was stubborn, he laughs. A real pain in the ass. My eyebrows dip in the middle. He said that I reminded him of this girl, and now I don't quite know whether to take that as a compliment or not. But she was also funny, and brave, and beautiful, he adds. His mouth quirks at the way I frown. Though I don't know what he has to be so amused by, I still can't figure out who the girl is. We ended up in this very bush once, hiding from a few gang members. I was trying to do something nice by returning the phone she lost, and in return she bit my head off, he says, smiling at the memory. Oh, I suppose I do know the girl after all. She was me. When I don't say anything, Gray steps closer, his pale hair falling into his face as he stares down at me. Chico, he says my name, and I can't stop myself from looking at him, tumbling deeper into those stormy gray eyes. You trust me, don't you? Girl, please. He's literally gonna fucking forgive you for everything. I feel like he'll forgive us for everything if we just admit it right now. Please. He had asked the same question the night of the fun fair, and I evaded the question. I'm still not quite sure of my answer, and it doesn't help that something about the situation feels different. You seem to put a lot of weight on the word. Is it so important to you, I ask. It is. Without trust, what else do you have? That's good. That's good. But it takes time to build the trust, doesn't it? I say, rebutting him gently. I feel like if you connect with someone, the trust comes easily, you know? Like, I feel like certain people just click. Or is it just me? I feel like when you start talking to someone, you just know, like, okay, this person gonna be my friend. You don't know it yet, but you're gonna be my friend. Because we just click, we just mesh so well, you know? And then there's some people, like, you try to talk to, and it just seems like they don't want to care or give you that effort. So you're like, alright, I tried, you know, whatever. As our eyes meet, silence befalls us both. Our gazes charged with emotion, with so many things unsaid. Oh shit. Hello? Why are my eyes closed? When he leans in is it raining? What is happening? When he leans in a hand on my waist, I don't stop him. My heart beating beneath my chest like the wings of a tiny hummingbird. Great, wait. I stammer. I never expected to fall for him so fast. I want this so badly it hurts, but still, our first kiss shouldn't happen like this. He draws out. His nose brushes mine, his warm breath sending a ripple of chills across my skin, my eyes closed, lashes flitting across the tops of my cheeks. And I want him to close that gap between us. I want him to kiss me, but he has to know everything first. Just tell him, please. Please tell him. I'm so tired of this. My body draws closer to his, my breath staggers, waiting for the moment our lips will touch. Motherfucker. Why is everything always bad timing? All of a sudden, taxi pulls up and mine reels itself back. Fuck. Panic hits me harder than a freight train, and I pull away from him. What am I doing? I can't do this. I shouldn't be doing this when I've been lying all this time. I'm sorry. I say before I enter the taxi and close the door. A romance, please, I tell the driver. He silently watches me as I leave without him, and a feeling of guilt and remorse eats away at me. Girl, what the fuck? Just tell him. I'm gonna fight my girl. I feel like this is like the one time the main character is annoying the shit out of me. He is literally telling you to trust him. That he is the one to decide whether, like, he doesn't want this or not. You know, you're being a little bit selfish right now. I don't see Gray for the rest of the week after I ditched him. But I know he's been around. It's like there's something in the air whenever he's on the premises. I can feel it like electricity crackling against my skin. I still hear the group on their usual nights, and once or twice I've run into Gray's friends as they arrive to play games. They're always polite, and after Gray banned them for drinking on the premises, they're fairly well behaved, so I have no complaints. All of them except Ivan, of course, but luckily I haven't run into him again since the night he showed up drunk and missed the game of Dragon Den. And then there's Gray himself. I've been avoiding him, and I think he's doing the same to me. I guess after leaving him like that without an explanation would make anyone a little peeved. I don't know how to be honest. You can see that. I find myself closing the store later each day, thinking he might stop by, but he never does. And then I always feel silly for waiting. I should just talk to him first, send him a message, say I'm sorry, or head down to the basement when he's there alone. Somehow I just can't bring myself to do it, and then I decide maybe it's better this way. My phone buzzes and my chest clenches, silently hoping it's a message from Gray. It's Sarah. No, it's from Nikki. When I check, oh, Sarah. When I check the screen, my heart drops. Sarah's name flashes across the screen. Hey, wanna catch a movie tonight? I haven't heard from you all week. I can't, sorry, I'm buried under work. Boo, let me know when you're free to hang out. Of course. I thought it was gonna be Nikki. You said to hang out next week, yeah? I lay back on the sofa and let my phone drop beside me before I lose myself in another episode of Super Yacht Singles. I feel bad about lying to my best friend, but I'm really not in a social mood, and I don't want to have to explain to her what's wrong. That's when you tell your bestie, like, hey, I'm a little down. Life, you know, I'm gonna be MIA for a little bit. That's what I do with my friend Brittany. Like, my best friend Brittany, we just tell each other, like, hey, I'm gonna disappear for a little bit. Don't worry about me, and just in my head. Just communicate. It's not that hard. Okay, well, I can't say that. Sorry. It might be hard for some people, but if you really love the person, just tell them. You know, communicate. Communicate that. That you just need a little time. Because when it comes down to it, nothing is wrong at all. Nothing was ever going to happen with Gray and I. I couldn't let it. Girl, fuck you. My eyes drift over to the bottom shelf of the bookcase. Settling on the jumbo box, I try my best not to cry. Wasted. The taxi arrives at the nightclub. Nikki messaged me earlier. We're at a nightclub? For some drinks? Why couldn't we go to like a local bar or something? Nikki messaged me earlier today, reminding me that I had to agree to meet him for a drink, and I was happy to see his name pop up on my screen. Going out into the world will give me a distraction from everything else going on in my life. I haven't spoken to Gray all week, and I'm determined not to let it ruin my mood. I feel bad about blowing Sarah off last night and then meeting up with Nikki, but it's easier this way. I know Nikki won't pry. Are you sure? And I can't mope around on my couch watching reality TV forever. God, I can't. I'm kidding. It's not healthy. The bar we're meeting at in the Academy territory is the bar we're meeting at is on Academy territory and used to be a frequent haunt of the gang once they were old enough to drink. I've avoided it for a long time, afraid that I might run into too many familiar faces, but right now I'm not seeing a whole lot of familiar people at all. In fact, given the look of some of the people hanging around here, I think they might be Riversiders. Tentatively enter the building, looking around for Nikki's familiar face. I spot him sitting on a stool at the bar, and he smiles when he sees me. There you are, he greets me with a hug and a kiss on the cheek, gesturing for me to sit beside him. You're not gonna just suddenly confess your feelings of, like, high school to me, are you? What can I get you? You're, like, hot? I understand. But I feel like something's up. Just a glass of wine, thanks, I say as I shrug out of my coat, hanging it over the back of the bar stool. Speaking of Brittany, she texted me and I was like, wait, why is she like typing my name but like ... She's talking about a book. Glancing around, I see even more unfamiliar faces inside the bar, and more than a few of them are looking my way, sizing me up. I pull my hand back close. The bartender sets a glass in front of me, and I take a long sip of my drink. This week has been strange, and much too long. Meeting up with my friend couldn't have come at a better time. Nikki smiles, waiting for me to set my glass down again before he speaks. So how are things with you? How's the business? He asks, and I can tell by his tone that he's genuinely interested. It's going great, for the most part, I say. I'm still building up a client base, but I'm sure I'll get there eventually. If your craftsmanship with the costume is any indicator, I don't doubt it. Nikki raises his glass to me before taking a sip. It surprises me by how much he's changed since before. He's much more eloquent with his words. He's really grown up. I smile thinking of the costumes I made for the play and feeling a small twinge of guilt. Although I'd enjoyed making them, I'd had my own personal motivation for taking on the job. I have to be honest with you. My intentions when making the costume were entirely noble, I admit. And Nikki cocks his head in an interest. Oh? I swallow around the lump in my throat, giving a nervous laugh. I was hoping that if people liked my work, they might commission me to tailor their outfits for other Academy events. Nikki laughs out loud, and though the sound catches me off guard, it chases away a little of the guilt. Jeez, Michiko, you had me scared. I thought it was something serious, he grins. Well, hey, the school blog will be doing a write-up on the performance. I'll make sure they include your details in there. Let them know who's responsible for the costumes. Really? I almost choked on my drink in surprise. That would be amazing. He gives me an amused look, his eyes crinkling behind his glasses. We're still friends, aren't we? It's only natural to help each other out. I nod, though my smile falters a little. I've already helped him out with costumes for the play. That must be what he's thinking about. And what about you, Professor? How's the teaching gig going? I ask him. He leans up against the counter, getting comfortable. Honestly, it's great. The kids are the best part, even though they're always getting themselves into troubles. His eyes light up when he speaks. Oh, what kind of trouble? I encourage him to continue. Well, about a week ago, a couple boys from my class managed to swipe the keys to the principal's car and fill the air conditioning unit with confetti. She was furious. He chuckles at the memory and shakes his head fondly. Man, it was near impossible to keep a straight face when she told me about it. I almost wish I had come up with the idea first. It sounds just like the kind of things we got up to at school, I say with a laugh. Do you remember the time we broke into the groundskeeper's shed and covered everything in bubble wrap? Like it was yesterday. He was a good guy, though thought it was hilarious, Nikki chuckles. What about the time we let ourselves get locked in the library and camped out overnight? Yes, apart from Sarah attempting to scale an entire wall of books and almost knocking it over. That was the best night. She was crazy back then. Nikki pushes his glasses up and wipes. Oh shit! We haven't even told him who she's dating. And wipes at his glasses as he chuckles. Oh, she still is, I assured him with a giggle. We laughed together, ordering a couple more drinks and reminiscing on all of our old memories. And there are a lot of them. It's good to hear that kids these days haven't changed much, I say after a while. They really haven't, Nikki says. And besides all of the mischief, the rivalry with both Riverside High and DeCapo is still going strong. I don't think that will ever change, I admit, my smile slowly fading. Nikki looks away suddenly, clearing his throat a little before he speaks. You know, as much as I've loved catching up with you, there's also another reason I asked you to meet me. Of course, there's always an ulterior motive. He admits as he leans in closer. What is it? I ask, feeling a little lightheaded from the wine. I don't know how much you know about the old gang, but there's a few of us who still hang out, keeping an eye on our territory, he starts, and my stomach sinks. I should have known it was something to do with the gang. As if sensing I'm already beginning to close off, Nikki leans forward, his eyes finding mine. Things started getting bad a few years back, he explains. The Hammer and the Riversiders took over almost our entire territory. That's why I've seen so many unfamiliar faces around here tonight, I say. Nikki nods in confirmation. Most of the gang were too afraid to stand up against them after you and Sarah left us. Over the years, it's been getting worse and worse. I don't know what this has to do with me, I say bluntly. Nikki runs a hand through his hair before speaking, seeming to look for the right words. The gang is still loyal to you, Michiko. I wanted to ask if you'll come back and fight with us again. We could take back our turf together. Nikki, we're grown adults! With jobs! What? No, I left that life, bro. 10 years ago. I have a business to think about now, I say sharply, staring him down to drive the point home. Nikki hesitates, and it seems like I still have some of my old spirit, though I can't help but be annoyed that this is the reason he called me here. Was this your plan all along? Fill me with drinks and then press your idea of reforming the gang onto me? It's not like that. He holds up a hand in innocence. Not exactly. Then why don't you explain it to me? I say impatiently, tapping my fingertips against the bar. It gives me a look, and if I didn't know any better, I'd say he might be impressed. I guess that old gang leader is still there, somewhere inside of me, deep down. It won't be long before the Riversider's presence causes trouble for your business. I guarantee it. He bitches with his empty glass, rolling the bottom across the bar. They're out to own everything there is in the city. They won't stop. And the DeCapo gang? I asked, not sure what I wanted to hear the answer. They've been laying low, but rumor has it that the Hammer has them in the palm of their hands. Whenever the Riversiders come for the last of us, and they will, you can be sure that the DeCapo will be on their side. But why? Why would they work together? I ask. I mentioned the Hammer and the Phantom have been up to something, right? Something, right? Nikki says. I think they're planning on getting rid of the last of the Academy loyalists, riddling us from the board completely. I wouldn't believe that Gray wouldn't do something like that, but I know what he was like back in his prime. I saw it with my own eyes. But how would he benefit from something like that? He spends his time running a board game group out of my basement. Then again, why is Ivan still involved in the same group? Maybe the gaming is just a way for them to blow off steam, but I can never be sure when it comes to him. They're dangerous, Michiko, more so than they ever were, he says, and I swear I see the hand around his glass tremble. I'm afraid of what could happen to all of us, to us all. Nikki has always been serious about stuff like this, but I'd never seen him so scared before. Still, none of this makes any sense to me. I can't, Nikki, I'm sorry. I left the gang for a reason. I understand. He dips his head, defeat finally washing over him. But if you ever change your mind, you know where to find me. Thankfully, he drops the topic for the rest of the evening. I mean, what do you want me to do? We're adults! Why are we still with this gang life? Can't leave the gang life, I guess. Jeez. But, okay. If we tell everything to Gray, would he be like, okay, Ivan, I'm in love. I'm in love with the previous, now back, gang leader of... What's our academy name? Started with a C. I don't remember anymore. I don't know. Why are we doing this? We're adults. I say that as if like gangs outside in our IRL world isn't like full of adults as well. Anyway, I don't have time for that shit, Nikki. I have a boutique to run. I don't want the cops tracing that this boutique is also housing the gang leader of Aromas. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.